Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight to the 2018 class application night. I'm Patrick Brett, the person who has been bombarding you with emails over the past week. So it looks like it worked, and I appreciate you all coming out tonight. We appreciate you all coming out tonight. This is Home Office D103, the senior home office. Ms. Sarah Radigan, assistant principal. Mrs. Christine McCreary, counselor. Mrs. Trish Pike, counselor. Dr. Marjorie Dieg, counselor. And Miss Mary Scott, assistant principal. We also have here tonight Christine Harris, an intern from Villanova, and one of the most important people in this role, Joanne Borchers, who is the transcript secretary, who you will understand why she's very important, but here's a tip real quick. She does everything she can to get everything out as fast as possible. She gets the paperwork, puts it in the counselor's mailbox, and then it goes from there. We ask for 3 weeks for everything to handle. Usually it takes a little bit less, but please do not give Mrs. Borchers any grief. This is her first year in this role, and it is very demanding, but she will do everything she can, okay? So thank you so much for coming out tonight. The seniors are sitting here going, it's finally here. We can get out of this place, and the parents are going, oh my gosh, this is already here. I remember putting them on the bus for kindergarten. There's tons of pictures on Facebook of all that going on. We know how stressful this is for everybody. I'm not there yet. I have 16 more years. We know how stressful this is for everybody. We will do everything in our power to make it as stress-free as possible. Please work with us. We will work with you. And we look forward to getting everyone where they hope to go next year. Okay? Thank you.
All right, like Mr. Brett said, my name is Trish Pike, and I'm one of the counselors in the senior office, and I have letters P to Z. So we all have a breakdown of alphabet, but again, if you have questions and students are coming in, we're trying to answer them as fast as we can, but when it comes time to the actual application process, we're going to ask that your students make sure they see their exact counselor who will be doing all of their work on Naviance. I know you're probably like, what is Naviance? And Mr. Brett will explain all of that to you. I'm going to start off by just saying, Mr. Brett mentioned how stressful this time can be. It is very stressful, not just for the kids, but for the parents. So we want you to take all this information in because it's very important information, process it, think about it as we're going through the presentation, write down your questions. We will be here to answer individual questions, but we're going to try to take, you may all have the same questions. We'll do a Q&A at the very end and try to answer them to the best that we can. All right, so that's just, we're going to give you the presentation first, and then we'll take all the questions. So tonight, the topics that are going to be talked about, the college application itself, Naviance, types of admissions, NCAA eligibility, and these all will be discussed with different people beginning right now. And I'm going to talk to you about where we are right now. So with this, what should have already happened? Well, you should have at least thought about colleges. We talked about it last year. So you should have at least looked them up, gone to visit, springtime, definitely in the summer, to get an idea if you're comfortable with the campus and if it's a good fit for you. So that's what we would think right now when we start talking about college. You already know. You're going to have a list of schools. We try to say anywhere between 3, 7 schools that you want to apply to. Of that 7 schools, 5 schools, 2 of them need to be safety schools. Well, what is a safety school? Well, that's a good question. A safety school is all colleges have requirements, whether it's GPA, class rank, SAT scores. So whatever the school requires you to meet, you meet those standards or you're above. That's what we call a safety school. Not everybody has the same safety school. So you have to know where you stand with that school. So at least 2 of them. We want you to take a look at what their averages are and pick 2 schools to apply to, in addition to whether it's a reach school or, or not so much a reach school, but we want at least 2 of those. Now, when we're talking about SAT scores, you're going to need to send your SAT scores to all the schools, but if you are taking them in October 7th is going to be packed with seniors. It's usually the final time that you take them. You can take them in November, but it's mostly going to be October. Those scores are going to go, so we just want everyone to know registration has happened for that, but you can still get in for the late registration for October 7 SATs. College isn't just about where you want to go, it's also a parent discussion, okay? So we want to talk about cost. So people will say, I really want to go here. I'll have a student say, I want to go here, and the parent's like, well, I'm not so sure. I don't want to discourage anyone from applying to a school you like. You need to see what your financial aid package will be once you speak to the school. We aren't really going to get into too much financial aid tonight. There's other nights that we will have presentations for that. But no, this is a family decision on where you're applying to school. So that is like where you should be right now. So all of you, if you haven't done that, it's not the end of the world. Don't worry about it. Tonight you're here, so tonight you start the process. You will go home, and you're going to get on Naviance. No, I'm just kidding. Tomorrow, you're going to get on Naviance, and you're going to start researching schools. You need to come in having an idea where you want to go to school. If you haven't gone out for a visit, you can still do that. It's okay. Sometimes we like to say it's good to see schools when they're in session. Start taking your trips now. It is an excused absence, just so you know that. It is excused. But please make sure if you're going to do that, you do it soon. All right, so that is really where we're at now. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Brett, who is the college career counselor. He's going to talk to you about Naviance. And this is where you really need to pay attention. Thank you.
Don't clap for her. So, Naviance is a buzzword around here. We've been using it for the past 3 years, but no one truly really knows what it is. I still don't know the full extent of it. There's things that I learn new almost every day. I go to workshops about it on a regular basis. We are hosting a workshop here, Mrs. McCreary and myself, with other schools trying to use and share best practices. But I got a text message about 20 minutes before I left my house from a science teacher in the building, and she said, you know, Pat, I overheard a bunch of seniors in my science class talking about Naviance and how they have no idea what it is. Can you please come into class? I said, absolutely. So I get it. I'm not going to stand up here and say, look, guys, you should know what Naviance is. I completely understand. Just please bear with us. I know you're all new to this. We're still new to this. By the time kids from 6th grade right now come through, they should have a really good grasp on it, but I get that you are new to this, and we will work with you through it. So, how should you use Naviance as a senior? It's different than the 9th graders, it's different than the 10th graders, it's different from the 11th graders, it's different from what you did last year with the career surveys. You can still take them, but you should be doing it a little bit differently. So, and seniors, you have nighttime on Friday. I am going to walk you through this during nighttime on a recording, exactly how to go through all this. So this is a brief overview. I will show you exactly how to do it. So please bring your Chromebooks, have them charged so we can do all this at nighttime on Friday. You want to add colleges to the college I'm applying list on Naviance. That's the first step. The reason why we say that, the reason why we say don't go visit other schools, don't go visit websites or other websites is because Naviance is not the be-all, end-all. Naviance is the GPS. It's not the car that drives you. Naviance shows you where to apply or how to apply. When you have schools in your list of schools, it'll tell you where to apply. For instance, LaSalle University, a great institution with great alumni like myself and Miss Scott. LaSalle University can be done two ways. It can be done through Common App, or it can be done through directly to the institution through their website. That's your choice. University of Delaware is a Common App only school. You have to do it through Common App. Penn State, Pitt, all of our other state schools are directly to the institution minus Millersville and Temple. You can do both. But Penn State, a lot of our kids apply to Penn State directly to the institution. You can only do it through their application, through their website, okay? So that's why you must go on to Naviance first and add the schools into your list. It tells you where to go. Okay, you want to request transcripts. That's part of the process. You can do that through Naviance when you're looking up your schools, when you're adding schools to your list. There's a checkbox that says request transcripts. You're also going to request transcripts another way. Request teacher letters of recommendation. You're not going to do this for all schools because all schools don't need them. Penn State does not need them. They don't want them. Our state schools don't need them because they have so many applicants, they don't have time to read letters of recommendation. They strictly look at numbers. They look at your statistics, your GPA, your class rank, your SAT or ACT scores. That's all they want. They don't need a letter from me or a teacher saying how great Johnny was in class. All they want is your statistics. Strictly a numbers game. But other schools, most schools on Common App, will need a letter of recommendation, whether it's the Common App evaluation form or a full letter of recommendation. They will need them. You have to do this on Naviance. Again, seniors, I'll walk you through this on Friday, but you have to do this on Naviance. There's no other way. If you don't do this on Naviance and you think you're going to get a letter of recommendation from a teacher, you're not going to get it, okay? Step one to that, you must go ask the teacher in person. You must go ask the teacher in person. It is common courtesy. They taught you for a year, maybe two, and they are doing a lot. They teach sometimes 5 or 6 classes a day. They are here prior to school. They're here after the school. They all have families at home. They need a heads up and a courtesy call to their classroom or wherever they are for you to say, "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, would you be able to write me a letter of recommendation?" Common courtesy. So a teacher has the option to say, "Of course," or if that teacher feels that they can't fully write a great letter of recommendation for you, most of our teachers will say, "I think you might want to look elsewhere. If you find somebody else who can't do it, you can come back to me and I'll write one." That's rare, but it happens. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. The other thing with letters of recommendation is resumes you can do on Naviance. Teachers can see them. You don't have to print them out, okay? So here's a piece right here, the view and sign up for college admission visits. This is one of my favorite things this year. Last year we did it. It was good. It's great this year. We have over 90 schools coming to visit in the next 3 months. And when I mean coming to visit, they sign up for a 45-minute time block. Students sign up on Naviance to come see them, and they check in with me. They're in my office. I have a conference room. They sit down, and the kids they give a little spiel, and the kids can ask questions. It's phenomenal. A couple years ago, if anybody has students who graduated a couple years ago or older siblings, it was all done in the cafeteria. And a college rep would sit down at the cafeteria and put up their sign and wait for kids to come. And kids would go, "I'll go see them later." Or, "I don't want to get up and let people see me going to this school." Or, "Hey, can I get a free pen?" You know, that's how it worked. It did. It was a waste of time for everybody. So this is a great opportunity. Today we had the University of Chicago in. 9 students showed up. On Monday afternoon, I wrote a pass for those 9 students, and they came down at the time frame. And they got to ask as many questions as they wanted. And unless the rep has to be somewhere else right away, that rep will stay for as long as our students need them. Okay, this is a great tool. Like I said, we have over 90 schools coming. Please sign up. And hopefully we have a lot of kids coming down who are interested. To that point, you want to show schools your love. You want to show schools you're interested in them. Not all schools track, but a lot of them do. One being Lehigh University. For instance, we had a student last year, top 20 in the class, over 1,500 on their SATs, got waitlisted at Lehigh because Lehigh did not see any interaction. That student did not reach out to Lehigh. That student did not or come visit when they were here. That student did not go to any open houses and show that they were there. Lehigh tracks. They track when you visit. Other schools do that. Not all, but other schools do. So just the heads up that you might want to come down if a school's coming. Even if you've spoken to 5 other people about that school and you know everything there is about that school, put a face to the name. Okay? It's a great way to here's an even better example. You're on the bubble. You're right there on the cusp of getting in or not getting in. You go, you get a card from the person, you ask them questions, they have a face to the name, you send them a follow-up email. "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, thank you so much for meeting with me. I have one more question. Here it is. You have some interaction between email. When your application comes in, they may look a little bit more favorably on you than the next person. Okay, so sign up, come down and see some colleges, ask them questions. There's about 3 schools that we'll do in the Audion, Pitt, Penn State, and Temple. We have about 25 to 40 kids that sign up each time, so we can't fit them all in my office. And then there's scholarship opportunities on Naviance. There's 4 ways to do scholarships, and 3 of them will be on Naviance. There's outside scholarships, which get emailed to me or mailed to me, and I'll put them on the scholarship list. They'll be up in the next coming weeks. There is a scholarship match on Naviance, which you would have to go in. It has some of your information to put the rest in, and it shows you what scholarships are available to you. And then those are the 2 on Naviance. There's also outside scholarships, so if someone works at Merck or other organizations may have scholarships their students or children can be eligible for. And the 4th one is senior awards. Each year, North Bend High School does a senior awards program, and we give about a lot of money. I don't know the exact total, but we give a lot of money out. And it's through outside organizations here in the building, the middle schools, the elementary schools. Some are for application-based, some are just chosen by whoever the organization is. Okay, so that's how you use Naviance at the current moment. This is the beginning page of Naviance. I mentioned the college I'm applying to list. There's 2 ways to get to that right here, or in the colleges tab, right up here. I know it's tiny. We will send this PowerPoint out to you guys. I'll share the link. So Mrs. Pike talked about safety schools and reach schools. When you go on Naviance, almost every school, not every school because some schools don't have the data, but almost every school has something along these lines. This is based on the 6.0 GPA scale and the 1600 SAT. This student, who is our fake account, this is our former counselor, Mr. Bill Travers, fake SAT score and fake GPA, and this is the Great LaSalle University, as I mentioned earlier. But this student would be a safety school here. Now, if it's a different graph, and this student, let's say this student were here. Now, this is an outlier, clearly. This may be an athlete. This may be a student whose parents work at the school, or who went to the school, or who give a lot of money to the school. So if you're here, you might think, all right, this is really a reach school for me, or I'm on the bubble, but maybe I should still apply. Maybe I should definitely go to see that admissions officer when they come to see Mr. Brett. So you can utilize these graphs in the admissions tab under the school's name in Naviance. Again, not all of them will have them, but a majority will. And you can see where you lie, where you fall. Again, all the way up here, not only are you getting in, you're probably getting some good scholarship money too. So utilize this as well to make sure you know what schools you should be fitting into. If you have any questions, come down and see me. All right, the FERPA, the worst acronym of all time. So the FERPA is the Family Educational Rights Act. What that stands for is that all of your records, your educational records, K through 12, we house in this building. They're yours, they're not ours. You can come down to the main office or to any person in the building and say, I'd like to see all of my documents. I believe we have 48 school hours to produce them to you. And we would give you copies of everything. That includes letters of recommendation. That's why I'm talking about it right now. It includes letters of recommendation. So if you ask a teacher to write a letter of recommendation for you, technically it's yours. You have the right to see that letter of recommendation. Why they ask you, why we're talking about the FERPA, is because the Common Application asks you to waive your right. Do you waive your right, meaning that if you ask, well, my wife teaches math, so let's say if you ask Mrs. Brett to write you a letter of recommendation, you have to waive that right for her to write the letter of rec and send it to the school. If you don't waive that right, that means you get to see it. But 2 things. The teacher sees that, and don't get me wrong, they're not going to write a recommendation that's not favorable to you. But there may be some things that they leave out. There may be some things that aren't 100% accurate. They may want to say, when Jenny was in my class, the beginning of the school year, we struggled to get along, And she really ramped it up, and we were able to have a great relationship, and she really did well at the end of the year. A teacher might not write that if the student's going to read it. So that's one thing. The other thing is colleges see it. So when a college sees that a student waives their right, they don't even blink. When a college sees that a student does not waive their right and has to look at their letter of recommendation or has the right to look at the letter of recommendation, they think twice about it. What's going on with this student that they needed to see their letter of recommendation? What about this student did they need to read it before it went out? We can't tell you to waive your right. We recommend that you waive your right. And if you have any more questions about the FERPA, again, the worst acronym in the world, if you have any more questions about it, let me know. All right. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Christine McCreary, and she'll talk about the college application process.
So just to piggyback what Mr. Brett was saying about waiving the right to your letter of recommendation, most students, once they get to where they're going, probably are not going to be that interested in seeing what the letter said anyway. So the colleges are going to know that that letter was in full disclosure. So that's the other reason why you want to think about whether you want to waive or not waive your rights to see that letter. All right, the college application, there's a lot of parts to it. But the basic is your application. You need to fill out your part with your data, all your information. And as long as your piece arrives on time, you're in good shape. The other pieces are going to get there, but the schools are really looking to make sure that you did what you needed to do by their deadline. And you want to make sure that you know exactly what those deadlines are, because if you miss a deadline, they're not going to say, oh, you know, I understand you had a lot of homework that week, you can turn it in later. These are schools that are getting thousands of applications, so you want to make sure that your stuff is in on time. The high school transcript goes. I know Dr. Dieg is going to talk about that in a little bit. You're going to see a sample of the transcript. Basically, that's going to show everything that you've done from 9th grade through the present. Test scores. These are your ACTs, your SATs. Maybe you've taken some AP tests. Those aren't on the transcript, but you want to send those to the schools directly through College Board or ACT. So I believe Mrs. Pike had mentioned SATs earlier. So if you're going to take the October SAT and you haven't already indicated 4 schools that you want to send those scores to, you can go in your account now and add those in. They'll not only get your October scores, they'll get any scores you've taken prior to this. And then that way the schools have everything that you need them to have with their SATs or ACTs. The secondary school report, that's what the counselors fill out. And if the schools require it, that's going to have your basic information. Your GPA, your class rank, where you fall in the class. There's some other check boxes that we fill out. That's part of the school report form. And then the counselor recommendation. And I believe Dr. Yeg talking about that too. Not all schools require counselor recommendations, but if your schools do, we will all be happy to write them for you. Teacher recommendations, hopefully you've already asked them. If you haven't asked them, now's the time. And then other requirements will be if they want a resume of all your activities, any outside letters of recommendation. I know some of you are scouts, maybe you've achieved Eagle Scout, you're really involved in a rescue group, or you do something outside of school that maybe the teachers can't speak directly to. That could be your 3rd letter of recommendation. If that's the case, then have them write it, send it to us, and we can upload it into Naviance for them. Essays. I know the Brit Lit teachers are working on essays now. If you don't have Brit Lit in the first semester, that's okay. Any English teacher will help you out. We also have the writing lab still, so make sure that you're starting on those essays. That's your chance to kind of show something about you, and that's your, I call that your commercial. That's your opportunity to use your own words to get your personality out there so that the colleges have a little bit more understanding of who you are as a person. Oh, the last thing on there was interviews. Some schools are still doing interviews. Some are having interviews with their alumni. It's definitely a good thing to consider doing. I've had a couple students ask me already this year, can we practice one? And the answer is yes, of course. Everybody who's ever gone on an interview for a job has probably practiced in some way or another, whether it's in front of the mirror by yourself or with a mom or dad or a friend, but we can certainly help you out, and Mr. Brett in College Career as well. All right, where can I apply? The Common Application is probably the most used application right now. There are over 600 participating schools, which is awesome. So you can do one application on Common App and choose as many schools that use it that you want to apply to. Just remember, for every school you apply to, there is a fee. So this is where you also want to make sure that you've done your homework, you know which schools you want to apply to that fall into that anywhere from 3 to 5 or 7 schools, where you have a couple safety schools, a couple reach schools, and a couple maybe in-between type schools. And your application's fees are paid right through Common App, so you've got to have a credit card handy. When you go into Common App, and we did this in the boot camp in August, and we had a really great turnout for this boot camp, so I hope everybody who came felt like they got a leg up on things. But you have to match your Common Application to Naviance. That way the two programs can speak to each other. And there's an actual button, so after you do the FERPA, that's when you can do the match. And you just need to make sure that your emails are matching. That's very important. Some schools have supplement forms. It could be additional essays. A lot of the really high-powered schools want more writing samples. They want to see more. Coalition application. This is a new program. This has only been in existence for about the last year and a half, perhaps. There's about 90 schools that use it, and it's a program that helps students match schools that maybe they wouldn't have thought of going to prior. So I would encourage you to check it out, but again, they're still kind of new, so we're still trying to figure out how that works with us. And then individual college applications, and that's found right on their website. I know MIT has their own application, Penn State uses their own application, and they're typically open at this point, but a lot of them were closed over the summer and opened between August and September 1st. What will I need? Your full name. No nicknames. Use your full name as it appears on your transcripts. You're going to need your social security number. We don't have that here. North Penn does not keep student social security accounts numbers, so you're going to need to know that. Your mailing address and an appropriate email. We went over this for several years now, and I think most students are using good emails. But a few years ago, it was kind of trendy to use something like that maybe described yourself, like sweethockeyplayer@yahoo.com. Or something like that. Use something professional. North Penn account? Yeah, use your North Penn email account if you can. That works best. You're also going to need your GPA, class rank, your test scores. You're going to report these unofficially. Common App is also going to be looking for all the classes you've taken, and they've made some changes over the years, or over the year, so they have like a 0.5 or a full credit. So we're kind of figuring out how we're putting our classes into their program. But any questions, just ask Mr. Brett on that. Just a reminder, again, full name as it appears on your transcripts. And really important, write down all your usernames and passwords. And this is the student applying to the college. So the student really needs to be in charge of making sure all this happens. But just as when they were learning to drive, they didn't go out driving by themselves without some guidance from their parents and learning how to do that. So it definitely can be both of you driving this car together, but you want to make sure that the student is the one doing the work. Types of admission. Hopefully you've heard through the years the different types, but I'm just going to review real quickly. Rolling admission. They're accepting applications every single day. They're making decisions on a daily basis. They're either accepting, they're postponing, or they're denying based on the information that they're getting. So if a student applied to a rolling admission school, like a Shippensburg, a Bloomsburg, if you applied by the end of September, you may know by the end of October. Typically with rolling admission schools, the longer you wait in the rolling application process, the more difficult it gets to get in because their class size gets fuller. And so they can kind of be choosier as it gets further into the process. Regular decision, they have a specific deadline. January 1, January 15, you just need to make sure that all of your information is in by that date, and then they'll make a decision and let you know usually around March. Early action. Early action usually has a November or November 15th deadline. This lets the school know that you really want to go to that school, but it's non-binding. And that's one of the reasons I really like the early action option, because it doesn't commit you to that school the way that the next one does. Early decision. Early decision is binding. And what I mean by that is there is a contract in the common application that the student, the parent, and also the counselor need to sign electronically that lets the school know this is your number one choice, and if they accept you, that's where you're going. Now, because of the financial aid moving, it used to not be available until the winter. Now the FAFSA comes out in October, and you can get started on that earlier. It does make it a little bit easier to know, but just know that the early decision is binding. So if they accept you and you've applied early decision, it's a contract. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to talk to any of us. But if they have the early action option, that's not as scary. When should you apply? This has moved up. I've been doing this for, well, a while. Used to be right in December was our busy time. So the applications, we were really pushing to get out before winter break. Now, we've already hit the ground running. So because of the online applications, the process has moved up by like 2 months. So most students have just about everything done before Thanksgiving break. And if you can get everything in by mid-October to Halloweenish, the end of October, you're not going to miss any deadlines. So I just want you to kind of think about the turkey, the pumpkin. Those are some dates to kind of put in your head. Halloween, Thanksgiving. If you can get everything in and out by then, you're going to be in good shape. And I know Mr. Brett touched on this earlier, 3 weeks. There are approximately 1,000 seniors in your senior class. There's 3 counselors and 1 transcript secretary who are processing all of these. So that 3-week turnaround time, some weeks we might get things out real quick, and sometimes we may need that full 3 weeks. So you want to make sure that if you have a November 1st deadline, you know when your transcript request has to be in by. Are we going to have those dates on our website soon? Or are they already? They're already up there. Great. Mr. Brett is in the College Counseling Center in K-Pod. Students are welcome to come down there during study halls, during lunch study, no school period 1. I see a lot of seniors this year have no school period 1 and or no school period 8. So while it's great to sleep in and leave early, this is really good time that you can be using here to work on these applications. All right, and now we have Dr. Dieg.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You want me to do that?
You don't mind?
I don't mind.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so a lot of what I'm going to say is a bit of repetition, but I want to make sure that we hone in on the important parts. Okay, so the transcripts. So we all know that the colleges require transcripts. How do you get them? You can come down to F25 or in our home office, and we have some forms tonight. It's called the Parental Release Form. So this basically gives us the right to release your transcripts to the colleges that you're going to be applying to. So once you fill out the form, you return it to the Transcript Office directly. As Mr. Brett said, the tab in Naviance, the colleges that I'm applying to tab, that's going to be the tab that you're going to list all the colleges that you're applying to, and you have to make sure to check underneath each college the box that says request transcript. That is how we as the counselors are going to be notified to make sure that we send out the transcripts for each college that you individually applied to. And we're all going to, like we've been stating this, 15 school days. Not 2 weeks, 15 Monday through Fridays. It gets very hectic at this time, and on top of college applications, we're also dealing with other, school counseling duties that we have to fulfill. So we ask that you all please remain patient. If something happens, if that 15-day mark has come and gone, the colleges will let you know if something is missing. If it is missing, come directly to us in our home office D103, and we'll do our best to make sure that we get that expedited. Okay, so what's on your transcript? All the high school classes that you've taken from 9th grade to present will be on the transcript. Your final grades for 9th grade through 11th grade will be on there. Cumulative GPA and rank. So what's not on the transcripts? Test scores, community services, anything else that would be on your resume we don't have on there. Can you go to the next slide for me? Here is a copy of what a transcript will look like. So top left-hand corner is 9th grade, top right-hand corner, 9th grade, top right-hand corner is 10th grade. Bottom left-hand corner is 11th grade. Now, as you'll notice, it'll show you the final grade for those courses. So we don't show individual marking periods. We do not show teacher comments. We simply show what you had as the final grade for those courses. Bottom right-hand corner, we list all the classes that you have, or that you're currently taking now as seniors. At the end of the first semester, what we're going to do is that for every college that you have applied to, we're going to send them basically a screenshot of your first marking period grade, second marking period grade, and any semester final courses that you have, because we want to make sure that the schools know how you're doing currently in classes. So make sure first marking period and second marking period grades look superb, because you want to make sure that the colleges don't think that senioritis started a little earlier than it has already. On the bottom, you'll see weighted GPA and non-weighted GPA. That's on there. And also keep a note, the absences are on there. I've had a couple students recently who I've had a higher number of absences than they are comfortable with, and if that's an issue that you may or may not have, just come to the home office D103 and we can help you figure out some ways to rectify those situations. But that's basically what our transcript looks like. Okay, so next, test scores. So all colleges are going to require either ACT scores, SAT scores. It is your responsibility to send the scores directly from the same websites that you registered to take these tests. So although we can, I've had colleges often ask me to send an unofficial copy, but they're going to be waiting for the College Board or the ACT to send it directly. You have up to 4 schools that you can do for free. That's not really for free because you paid for the test, but 4 schools will be part of it, and if there are more schools that you want to send afterwards, you can send it through those websites as well. On the bottom are the upcoming dates for the SATs and ACTs. All of the SATs so far have been offered at North Penn High School, so keep those dates in mind when you're thinking of taking these tests. Okay, letters of recommendation. Okay, so as we've discussed, every college has different requirements, so make sure you take the time to go on every college's website to see what they want. If they say that they do not want a letter of recommendation, don't send it, because they're not going to read it. I had a student today who came and asked, I have a 9th grade teacher who I really enjoyed and I really liked. Can I have a 9th grade teacher do it? And I always say, it's up to you, but who you were in 9th grade and who you are now should be a different person. So what we always ask is, have a teacher that you've had recently or you have a very good rapport with. Let's say you had a teacher in 9th grade and they happened to come up to the high school and you had them again in 10th grade. A teacher that you've had more than once would be a better teacher because they can attest to your growth, your academic ability, and your maturity. Now, this year for Home Office D103, in reference to counselor letters of recommendation, we're asking that every student make an individual appointment with us to have a discussion. If you would like us to write a letter, come to Home Office D103. We have our schedules laid out on the desk every day. So you can come in, look at your schedule, see our schedule, and make appointments. I suggest you come first thing in the morning, because if you wait till lunchtime, by then, we're literally booked all day, every single day. But do not email asking for a letter of recommendation, because we're going to say, please come in and personally ask for that letter, because we each have different requirements that we're looking for. So we're asking, once again, to please come to D103 and have a meeting with us. Meetings are about 15 to 30 minutes long, depending on the student, and then we'll go from there. I think I covered this, but basically, once again, making sure that the person that you're asking to write your letter of recommendation in reference to a teacher, or sometimes I've had some students who have a really good rapport with a coach or a really good rapport with somebody, you know, in their clergy, because they've known them for a very, very long time. If that's a person that you decide to write your letter, that'd be a great idea, but make sure that you ask them in person. I had a lot of teachers who came to me and said, I got a notification because this kid I had last year wants a letter of recommendation, but I haven't seen the kid. That's the worst way to start. Make sure that I like the personal approach. You go to the teacher and you say, hi, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, I had you last year or this year. I'd like for you to write a letter of recommendation for me. Will you? If they say yes, you pull out a copy of your resume, and on your resume, all your information is listed. That way, if they have any questions or any concerns, they can contact you directly. The more information that you give them, the better of a letter that they can write for you. Okay, and real quick, Mrs. McCreary wanted to say something in reference to letters of recommendation for her. You're welcome.
So obviously, I am new to the A to G students in the senior class, and I understand that I am the third counselor your child has had at this school, and in the same regard, they are my third caseload that I've had in 3 years. So we are going to work on this together. The advantage, actually, that your child has, or you have as a student, is that you have options. So if you had a very close rapport with your 10th grade counselor or Ms. Manalo from last year, you have every right in the world to go talk to them about them writing your counselor recommendation. Some students actually had Mrs. Manalo for 2 years in a row, and if you're very close with her, she's in K-Pod home office now. Feel free to go and see her. I spoke with her earlier today. I told her I was going to mention this, and she is on board with this. If you didn't, that's fine too, and you find that you need a counselor recommendation, I really need to sit with you, talk to you, and kind of get an idea of what you're going for so that my recommendation matches with what you're trying to do. So I am definitely requesting that we sit down and talk. I prefer a paper copy of your resume. I know it's on Naviance, but I'm a paper girl. I'm sorry, I still like paper. And it just helps to serve as a reminder that this is something that I need to do for you. So by all means, you have choices if you're in that A to G category, and whatever you are most comfortable with works for me. I won't be offended if you go to somebody else. All I ask is that if you go to a previous counselor, when they agree to write it for you, you follow up with them on a thank you email, copy me on it. Thank you, Ms. Manalo, for agreeing to write my letter of recommendation. Copy me on it so that I know to expect it. She's going to send me that letter so I can upload it into Naviance as your counselor letter. That's really important. Because I'm your counselor in Naviance, I have to make sure that it's put in under my area. So it goes as a counselor letter, not as a third recommender. Okay, so thank you.
If you don't know how to copy someone on email, it's that little CC. A lot of our students have no idea what that is. So the essay, very important for many schools, not so important for some other schools. Some schools want a personal statement that is simply, what have you done? What activities have you done? So some students just literally list their activities. It may be already in the essay portion, or I'm sorry, the resume portion, but that's what some schools, Westchester for instance, does. If it's optional, do it. Show the school that you want to be there. Show them that you want to be the student in the class of 2022. So make sure that you are doing everything they ask, going above and beyond the requirements for their application. So the prompts are different for each school. Common App has the same prompts, but some schools in Common App have supplemental essays, which you'll see when you put them into Common App. Share a draft with your English teacher if you feel comfortable. I would highly recommend that. Myself and the other counselors will read them for content as far as this is a good essay to send to school. I'm not going to speak for the other 3 counselors, but I am not the person to come to for grammar. Please. I mean, my wife will tell you, my parents will tell you, do not come to me for grammar. It'll be worse than you got it, when you gave it to me. So go see your English teacher. It's a great idea. There's also the writing lab at the bottom here. It says D18. I believe that's changed to B129. It's every other day and every other period, if you can figure that out, because I can't. And they should be sent directly to the school through your application, not through Naviance. We don't handle any portion of the application. We handle the transcripts. We handle the letters of recommendation. We handle the counselor letter of recommendation. That's it, okay? I forgot the clicker. Thank you, Ms. Pike. So, what are we doing? What are we reviewing here? The pink release form. Let me get a copy of that, Mrs. Borchers. Thank you, Christine. The pink release form, and you can pick them up. We'll have them up in the front on the way out. They're also, as we mentioned, in the transcript office, in D103, and also in my office. It's a pink release form up top. There's a little fill-out portion. If you are under the age of 18, a parent must sign. And you are responsible for sending your letters of recommendation and your SAT and ACT scores. On the back is a direction sheet and explanation of the whole entire thing. So a lot of what we talked about is here on the back. Make sure that you fill this out. You can put everything in Naviance and not fill this out, and nothing will get sent. You'll go see your counselor and say, my transcripts never went out. Well, that's because you didn't fill out the form. Vice versa, you can fill this form out and not put anything in Naviance, and we still don't send it out. Usually if that happens, one of us will call you or email you and say, you got to come do this. It's so much easier now with Chromebooks because Mrs. Borchers or myself or the 3 counselors can sit you down and say, here's how to do it, click, 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 done. It's a lot harder for this because you have to go home and get a parent to sign. On this sheet it says, allow for 3 weeks of processing after the 10th day of school. I believe the 10th day of school is tomorrow. So that means that after tomorrow, what happens is the district office locks in the senior class size. The class size will, as of today, it was 975. That could change. It could lock in 1010. Who knows? We'll find that out probably on Thursday. Then we have to upload every single transcript into Naviance, and then we'll start sending them on Monday. So if you put this in at boot camp and you're wondering why it's been 3 weeks and nothing's been sent, that's the reason. We can't send an official transcript until we get the class size, because if 4 or 5 people apply to Temple and they applied on different days and the class size fluctuated a little bit without being locked in, you're not on the same playing field. Not everybody's going to be looked at equally. So that's why we couldn't send it prior to. Send your SAT and ACTs through College Board, and make sure that you review for additional application requirements. Make sure that you hit send. That's some things that people don't do. They don't hit send, or they don't put some right information in. You will get emails from schools. You will get letters or little postcards from schools saying what you're missing. If you're missing a transcript, if you're missing a letter of recommendation, don't panic. Just come and see one of us, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what went wrong and where to go from here. A lot of the times, honestly, it's you didn't fill this paper out. Okay? All right, athletes. We have a lot of great athletes here in this building. We have a lot of great students here in this building, a lot of great students who participate in a lot of things. But specifically for our athletes, there's an extra step when you're trying to play at the Division I or II level. You have to register for the NCAA clearinghouse. You must register for the NCAA clearinghouse. There are certain eligibility pieces that you have to hit that I'll discuss with you on a different basis. I can't talk about them because it's too long. If you're an athlete, please register for the NCAA clearinghouse. I will send your transcript come and see me. Tell me that. You don't have to put it on the pink form. Come and see me. I'll send it electronically. At that moment that you're after you register, come and see me. I'll send it right away. And make sure you send your SAT or ACT using the code 9999. If you would like to meet me, the student would like to meet me, talk about the eligibility to make sure you're eligible, you've taken the right courses, you've got the right GPA, just come and see me. We'll take care of that. It takes about 5 minutes. Okay, scholarship and financial aid. I touched on scholarships earlier. Make sure that you're checking back on Naviance. Financial aid, we are hosting a financial aid night on Tuesday, October 3rd in the Audion, 7 p.m. kickoff. And a man named Arnold Jenelson will be there talking about financial aid. A lot of the times that's for our younger families or younger students, for the lower grades, the underclassmen. There are some things that would benefit you guys. What we're trying to do, and we're working on it with AFIA, we're trying to get a FAFSA completion night that night. So we're trying to have a couple classrooms open with some computers, or if you could bring your children's Chromebooks, we will start the FAFSA application and have people who know exactly what they're doing to help you with that process. It is a tedious process. It's a lot of filling out a form, and that's exactly what it is, and it takes a long time. There's a lot of questions about it for different situations, so we are trying to get that for you guys. If it is going to happen, I will make sure that an email goes out probably 3 times like I did this past week. Okay, dates to remember. So last year we did a college and career day in March, and we hyped it up, and it was a great day. It really was, but it was a zoo. We had 3,000 kids in the gym and in the hallways at one time, maybe 1,500, and it lacked a little bit of what needed to be done for students to get what they needed out of it. So we split them up, and we moved them to the fall. In 2 weeks, 15 days, we'll have a career day in the aux gym and in classrooms. So what happens is in the aux gym, it'll be set up like a fair, and students can go through during their lunch periods. And classrooms can come down and go through for students to talk to representatives. A lot of the representatives will be alumni. Some of the representatives will be community members or people that we've reached out to around the county or the area. If you are interested with your career and want to be involved and want to speak about your career, please email me. My email address will be up here in a moment. Please email me and we'll get you registered, and you'll be able to talk about what you do for a living to help students figure out what they want to do and really how to do it. The thing we want students to do is go up to someone, ask them how they got there, what they actually do for a living. Lawyers don't always just say, I object. They spend a lot of time reading paperwork, spend a lot of time dealing with things that aren't the greatest thing in the world, like a closing argument on Law and Order. So make sure that you are going and asking questions. We will have guided questions on Naviance, and if you fill them out, and we're going to pick kids out of a hat, not really a hat, we're not going to put names in a hat per se, but we'll have some prizes. We're working on some prizes, some giveaways for those students who participate. In the 4 classrooms, we'll have 4 classrooms devoted to specific career fields. One will be business, one will be health sciences, one will be engineering and technology, and the other will be government and law. We have about 3 or 4 people from each field coming. They'll give about a 2 to 3 minute spiel about themselves and open it up to questions and answers, and classrooms will come down. Teachers will get an email about how to sign up for these classrooms and conversations. Back to school night, you all know what that's about. I don't have to tell you that. It's a great time where students dread their parents going to meet the teachers if they've done anything wrong or forgot their homework. October 3rd is financial aid night. As I mentioned, again, we're trying to get that FAFSA completion night. Last day to register for the November SAT is October 6th. Earlier, there was an October 6th date for the October SAT. It's actually the 7th. That was a typo. And October 12th is the Montgomery County College Fair that we are hosting. 185 schools typically are at that event. So if you're still undecided about where you want to apply, come to that event. If you want to get your face out there again to a representative, come to that event. Talk to the representative. They'll be in our gym I will get a list out of all the schools that will be here a couple days in advance. They didn't release it till the morning of last year. Hopefully I can get it a little bit before then. So those are the dates that are very important in the next month, to the exact date, the next month. So please make sure you're checking in with those. And this is what I do. So I'm available to students, I believe as Mrs. McCreary said, available to students during lunch study, study hall, 8B, which is part of our new confusing schedule, and Tuesday night times. If you're coming on 8B or Tuesday night times, you need a pass from me beforehand. If you're coming from lunch study or study hall or lunch, just ask for a pass and come on down. It's just like going to a home office. No school period 1, more than welcome to stop in. No school period 8, more than welcome to stop in. And after school as well. I have to drop my kids off in the morning, so I usually don't get here till about 7:10. So sometimes it doesn't give students enough time for their questions before getting to class at 7:21. If you have a question, just ask. Either come in, shoot me an email. I try to respond as quickly as possible. Call me, whatever you need. I thought my email address was up there. You all have my email address. I send emails to everybody 3 times. So any questions, please let me know. Please let our ladies know. At this moment, we will take general questions. We'll come around with a couple mics. We'll talk general questions. If you have specific questions, hang on to them. You can come afterwards or send an email. But at this moment, we'll do general questions. So you can just raise your hand. Mrs. Pike and I will come around. Yes. Correct. The question was that the GPA is set in stone after junior year of high school, and that is correct. So the GPA is based off of 6 semesters, 2 freshman, 2 sophomore, 2 junior. Your senior year never impacts your GPA that's sent to colleges. Will we do the GPA at the end of the year? Yes. We will do the GPA at the end of the year. Doesn't really mean anything because everybody hopefully is accepted to a school. But at that, nothing from the first 2 semesters will impact the GPA that colleges see for acceptance basis. While Ms. Pike is getting up there, I'll ask this gentleman. Go ahead.
For the North Penn GPA is reported on a scale of 6, and many schools ask for a GPA on a scale of 4.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we do the conversion?
So the question was, North Penn GPA is based on a scale of 6, and a lot of schools ask for GPAs based on 4. So we offer 2 of them. We offer the 6.0 GPA, which is weighted, and we offer the 4.0 GPA, which is non-weighted. The class rank is based off of the 6.0 GPA. So a lot of schools that are looking for the 4.0, they'll either take our 4.0 that's offered, or they'll take the transcript, disregard our GPAs, and they'll calculate it themselves on a weighted 4.0 basis. They're on Naviance, and they are under the colleges tab to the right-hand side, and it says schools that are visiting.
If our student is still working on their essays and haven't submitted the application completely yet, can we go ahead and request the SAT transcripts to be sent?
Absolutely. I would highly recommend requesting the SAT or ACT because they take 3 to 5 weeks. Great question. Where is the Career Center located right now? So last year it moved from K25 to K31. So again, my office is in K31 on the right hand, all the way down the hall on the right-hand side of K-Pod.
In Naviance, can you tell when a teacher has submitted their letter of recommendation?
Yes. The question, so in Naviance you can tell whether the teacher submitted your letter of rec. It'll say submitted or sent. Or complete, actually.
Is there a place where we could see our child's transcript?
So your child can come to the transcript office or me or any counselor and get an unofficial transcript to take home, but it's not available for you to look at through any technology piece. Sure. So the question was, if a school that a student is interested is not coming to visit North Penn, can someone reach out to me and see if I can reach out to them to see if they'll come? Absolutely. I will absolutely do that for you. I can't guarantee they'll come, but I can absolutely do that for you. If that doesn't work, I'd recommend either visiting or seeing if they're coming to that college fair on October 12th. There's a good chance they are. 185 schools are coming, so there's a good chance they are. And visiting schools is always highly recommended. I'm not telling you go visit a school in California if it's your only California school. Wait to get in and then go visit that school. But, you know, visiting school is always recommended. All right, we're going to go to individual questions at this time, but I'll still come around.